And now that the All-Star break is done, it's time to start focusing our attention on the trade deadline, which is August 2nd. And there's been one name in trade rumors that is going to garner the most amount of attention, and that's Juan Soto. Because Juan Soto is arguably the best player in Major League Baseball at this given time. He's only 23 years old with numbers that are comparable to a guy we know well in Miguel Cabrera. It was reported that the Washington Nationals offered him a 15-year, $440 million extension that he turned down. And so because of him turning that down, they are now seeking to trade him. So that gets everybody thinking of, what can we offer to make sure that he is a part of our team? Teams like the Yankees, teams like the Dodgers, the Cubs, the White Sox, all those teams, the Red Sox, anybody like that are going to be making a push. Maybe not the Cubs, because they're more in the situation like the Tigers are, but teams like that, Toronto, are going to be looking to make a deal for Juan Soto, and that deal is going to be blockbuster. Absolutely blockbuster. It's going to be entirely insane, the haul that the Washington Nationals get for Juan Soto. So then let's talk about that in terms of Tigers, right? What would the Tigers have to give up in order to get Juan Soto? Well, the starting point would be Reilly Green. That's the starting point. He would have to be included in a deal for Juan Soto. And it would probably take 2 or 3 of our other top 10 guys. Jackson Jobe would be another name that would be included to get Juan Soto. Now, do you want Juan Soto playing for your team? Yes, you absolutely want Juan Soto playing for your team. There's no doubt about that. But is the cost too high? Yes, an extension would have to be included in the deal. It would have to be guaranteed that he would sign with your team, but is it worth it? Is it worth it? Now, the Tigers have made a deal like this in the past when they traded Cameron Maybin and Andrew Miller and some other guys for Miguel Cabrera. Okay? But they had a foundation laid. Do we have a foundation laid now? I don't think that it is in the cards for the Tigers to trade for Juan Soto. I think that the price would be too high. Now, you may hear me say that I wouldn't trade Reilly Green for Juan Soto. That's not what I'm saying, and I want to be very clear about that. Okay, I firmly believe that parades are much cooler than prospects, to quote Casey Stern. But the price to acquire him would not be a team building move. You have a roster right now that is made up of very few players that would be in the lineup for a good team. Javi would be. Green probably would be, even though he may not even be up, depending on who what team that is. Barnhart, because he's a good defensive catcher. But does Grossman crack a starting lineup on a good team right now? I don't know. Does Scope? I don't know. Candelario doesn't. The Castros are probably on the bench, coming off the bench. When you have a roster that is built that way, can you afford to make a deal for a guy like this that is going to cost you potentially half of your top 10 prospects? Now, if they were to include like a Steven Strasburg type contract that the Tigers ate and took maybe one of those prospects away, maybe a Patrick Corbin type contract that helps lower the price tag a little bit, maybe. But that deal still includes Reilly Green. That deal still includes, maybe some of your other top prospects. And the question is that just too much? I think it is. I think it is. And I may be crazy because Juan Soto is fantastic. But when you look long term, what's the better value? If you offered me Juan Soto for Reilly Green straight up, I would take it 100%. To be clear, but when we talk about the absolute cost that it is going to be to bring him to Detroit, I just don't see it happening. And then there's the whole other aspect that we're not really talking about. Why do we think that he turned down 15 years of guaranteed money at $440 million? Well, he's not happy in Washington, is a conclusion that you could make, an assumption that you could make. He doesn't want to spend 15 years. Yes, the Washington Nationals are worse than the Tigers right now. But he also won a World Series with them. Do you think that he would be happy in Detroit? I don't know. Considering that we don't really have the foundation that we had laid when we traded for Miguel Cabrera, would he be happy? Would he be looking to get out? Could it create more problems? It could. And in a lot of ways, the devil that you know is a lot better than the devil that you don't know. And so when it comes to Juan Soto, he's going to get traded. He won't be a National, but he may be a National for the rest of the season. It could be an off-season deal for sure. But definitely come August 2nd, it could be the biggest deal that we are talking about for a long time. This is going to be epic. I don't think the Tigers will be in the mix. If they are in the mix and there is some kind of haul, that if there is some way that our GM is savvy enough to make a deal that doesn't include Reilly Green, that's a huge win. I don't think it's possible. I think Reilly Green is the starting point in any conversation with Juan Soto. But I just don't think it would be worth it in the long run to make a deal like this and have to sign a guy to the type of contract that you just spent 6 years getting out of. I'm not saying those contracts aren't going to be handed out by the Tigers in the future. They probably will be. But is right now, when your rebuild is not 100% over, is right now the time to be handing them out? I just don't think it is. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. But I'm just not making this deal in order to build a good, solid, long-standing team. This type of deal just doesn't do that for you. So maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm not.